Spirit, Stallion of the Cimmaron is a movie by DreamWorks, best known for Kung Fu Panda, How to Train Your Dragon, Madagascar, and of course the big one, Shrek. Now I thought I'd visit this movie to see if it held up. There have been a lot of films around this era that depict animals with pathetic humour and treat their audience like they're the dumbest people on the planet, and there are others that utilise their traits and develop emotionally endearing stories that is able to balance the humour, charm and tear-jerking moments all in one perfectly wrapped package. So unlike most animated movies that portray animals as the leads, in Spirit, the horses do not speak English or any human language. They communicate like actual horses through non-verbal grunts and neighs. This was a refreshing change. It gave you a sense that the story was going for a different route. It was trying to unearth a unique reaction. I must say that the pacing is faultless. It's not too long or too short. The rhythm at which the story flows immerses you into our main character's journey. The story follows a Mustang horse by the name of Spirit. He is a part of a herd that are not domesticated. They roam the lands of North America with passion and freedom. As a young horse, he is shown to be different to the other horses based on how he behaves. This stirs a reaction from the herd and his mother, but they don't see this as an alarming reaction. His mother shows to be supportive and charmed by his adventurous ways. Spirit's early years shown to be a kind and innocent soul that makes you instantly warm up to him. The soundtrack really helps as well. I didn't mind the frequent usage of tracks in this film as there was little dialogue and it gave the movie a distinctive feel. Spirit develops into a strong and majestic horse that becomes the leader of the herd. He shows great devotions and protection for his herd and is not afraid of putting his life on the line for the herd to survive. So Spirit's life is for the most part a peaceful one, until he spots a light in the distance. And from this point on, his primal instincts are tested to the limit. He comes across a group of wranglers and their chained horses. Spirit has never seen horses in this state before. His curious nature is what keeps the story going. As it is established in the beginning, he is different to other horses. Spirit investigates the humans' clothing, most noticeably the spurs on their shoes. The humans awaken and attempt to capture him. Our first chase scene occurs, demonstrating Spirit's clever ability to maneuver his way out of the situations that would find most horses captured within seconds. He manages to get away from the wranglers, but realizing his herd are in danger, Spirit sacrifices himself by diverting the wranglers away from the horses, but ends up getting captured himself. It is a very painful scene to watch as he grapples his way out for freedom under those tightly constrained lassos. As it's a film aimed at a universal audience, they didn't want to go too far with the graphic depiction of animal cruelty, but they paint the picture with the right amount of emotional substance. I think to make this scene between Spirit and his mother more affecting was to show an extra scene devoted to their bonding. Maybe the mother needed more screen time during Spirit's childhood years. Any scene in which a mother watches losing her child is a highly sad moment, but the more time you show spent with the two together adds more gravitas when they lose each other. But having said that, if this scream from Spirit doesn't move you, then I'm not sure what will. The next sequence feels both highly motivating and distressing at the same time. The vocals by Bryan Adams in this particular track supporting the amazing visuals of the Old West is a truly inspiring scene. Throughout this movie, Spirit shows a great amount of determination and desire to never give up. Even when there is no hope, the movie adds a surprising amount of weight into his journey. And to be honest, I think the lack of dialogue is responsible for this component. So Spirit is subjected to more brutal treatment by the US cavalry, but his persistence and untamed behaviour refrains him from losing his dignity. The Colonel and the US cavalry are the clear antagonists of this movie. They try to weaken him by leaving him tied to the post for 3 days without water and food. A Lakota Native American named Little Creek is captured, but to the surprise of Spirit he is also treated with contempt. This was a really great lesson to teach to kids about how certain people and animals are viewed simply because they may look different. But to Spirit, Little Creek is just another human, only he is tied to a post just like a horse. I thought the writers made the right choice in choosing an indigenous American to befriend Spirit rather than a white American, because they would have suffered from the white savior trope which is so often seen even in good movies. It was a refreshing change. After the Colonel fails to tame Spirit, he goes crazy and attempts to kill the horse but is stopped by Little Creek. The two then escape from the post. The only problem here is that they would have been shot on sight because no way on earth would security be that incompetent for there to be just one unarmed man between them and the door. But then again, the movie wouldn't be for kids and it would just end and be known as the darkest animated film in history. I think the story could have stretched their time in captivity, maybe have Spirit and Little Creek gradually build a connection and mutual ambition to escape which is shown briefly. But for the two to escape, it would have to take a lot more patience because in reality, the scenario would have gone the complete opposite way. Spirit is once again captured by Little Creek's tribe, but in a far less cruel manner. He sees how the Mare Rain treats Little Creek with great affection and does not feel afraid or subdued. We see Little Creek attempt to tame Spirit in a different way, one with kindness and respect. Spirit quickly falls in love with Rain and he grows a slight form of attachment to Little Creek, even though he wishes to be as far away from the tribe as possible. He is eventually set free by Little Creek after he realizes that Spirit is meant to be a wild horse and cannot be tamed. But when the tribe is attacked by the Colonel and the cavalry, he comes to their aid and ends up saving Little Creek's life. The sequence of Spirit going all out to save Rain from dying is a brilliant piece of animation, particularly through this one shot where he's going in and out of the river. It's very immersive. Yeah, that's death. They're not surviving that. Oh wait, I keep forgetting that this is a DreamWorks movie, and not made by some psychopath. Spirit is captured once more by the cavalry and must work on the railroads. Only this time Spirit has broken into a chasm of depression. Even the horses in the train try to lift his spirits, but this time it seems as though his morale has completely gone, because he's lost 2 new friends in his life on top of losing his herd and mother. In the 3-act structure, this is the plot point known as All is Lost, which occurs during the end of the 2nd act. Spirit has hit rock bottom after experiencing a tragic turn of events. The movie may alleviate some factual scenes with convenient elements to progress the story's pace, but it still keeps you engrossed because it stays true to its themes of freedom and love, which in this film is constantly at war with loneliness and cruelty. When Spirit has a visual hallucination of his herd, you get the feeling of how alone he's been. It's like leaving your hometown for the first time and feeling homesick. Well, actually maybe not quite like that. What was I thinking? He's a horse, not an 18-year-old about to leave home for university. However, this hallucination gives him that drive to escape and be free once more. The next escape sequence is another spectacle to admire. At this point, I don't care about if this would be a realistic scenario. What matters is that Spirit is not a tamed horse, so his mentality is different to the rest. Of course he was going to escape. How many tamed horses are there in the world that just go off into the wild? And in the end you just want to see him succeed. In the aftermath of the destruction, Spirit is saved by Little Creek once more, and the two reconcile with open joy. Unfortunately for them, their brief moment of rejoicing is hindered by one last dramatic chase scene. The Colonel confronts the protagonist like any typical villain would for a final act. You kind of know where this is going and how it's going to end. Perhaps there could have been a different angle to resolve this. It's near the end, and even though the animation of the mesas and the deserts look amazing, it just seemed that this time round here it became routine that the heroes were going to overcome this chase. Don't get me wrong, the scene in which Spirit jumps over the cliff for safety is awesome. That one clip sums up Spirit's character perfectly, yet the build-up was not as exciting because it became too readable. My suggestion is to take a look at classic spaghetti westerns during the final act. It doesn't have to be a Mexican standoff, but it can certainly embody the elements, like creating tension, suspense, using silence to create an unnerving atmosphere. It was a nice touch to see the Colonel just put his hands up and say, "You know what, you crazy horse, you win. I'm gonna go home and take a dump." We see a very wholesome and touching goodbye between Little Creek and Spirit. It's very emotional to see the two separate this way. The fact that Spirit yearned so long to be free and reunite with his herd, he felt like he just lost another member of the family, even though it was for such a short time. In the end, the journey for Spirit was one that many should look up to as inspiring. I wish more animated movies involving animals were as refreshing as this one. Sure, it has its flaws, but it doesn't fall into the trap of forcing huge chunks of childish humour, so they can make extra cash by exploiting the consumers with merchandise that makes stupid fart noises coming out from their mouths. The movie treats its audience with respect and focuses on themes that are true to the heart, and for that reason, Spirit, Stallion of the Cimmaron deserves a lot more attention for what it's worth.